Don't know the hour or the day. Time is such a gift, try and control your destiny. We don't know the hour or the day. Unity is strength, let's stand as one without delay. Cause no bad vibe, me a chant. Me no want a bad vibe, me a chant. I just peace the times all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a chant. No bad vibe, me a chant. Say me no want a bad vibe, me a chant. I just peace the time all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a chant.
Hello, everybody. We are back. Dev taught us how to live with another season. Oh, man, I miss you guys. Thank you so much for being so patient with me and allowing us to take our time to come back with a full-fledged great month of May for Stroke Awareness Month. I have a whole lot of great people for you, but to start off our month, I have my great friend, Ralph Cortese. He is a great friend of mine, and I've been working with him for about a year now, Ralph?
Yeah, it's very close to a year, yeah.
So Ralph is the organizer, the creator, the founder of StrokeWarriorRadio.com. Is a web-based radio station, but we'll get into more of that a little bit later. But first of all, let me introduce to you my friend Ralph Cortese. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fabulous. How about yourself?
Oh, I can't complain, sir. I can't complain whatsoever. But
Thank
as
you so
everybody knows, this is Stroke Awareness Month, the month of May. I've been doing some great stuff with my community, and I know you do great stuff with your Stroke Warrior Radio. You know, I'm gonna allow you to speak on that because I don't want to take away your glory, your shine, and your hour. But before we get started with our actual show, I want to know a little bit more about who Ralph is before his stroke, and also what happened with you with your stroke. So the floor is yours. Please tell us now.
Well, I can tell you, I'm a street kid from Jersey, more or less. I've been around for a lot of years. I can tell you, prior to the week of my stroke, I was at a great point in my life. My construction business was going great, with a great deal accomplished that week. I sat down after work that Friday night, watched the news, and fell asleep on a couch. When I woke up, something was wrong with me. Didn't know what it was, took some ibuprofen, went to bed. Woke up the next morning, and something was even worse wrong with me. So I called an ambulance. I looked at my phone and found out I think I was having a stroke. You know, that's the basic gist of it. I was doing a construction business. I've been an athlete all my life. I've got a big family. So it was a shock to me that it came like that.
Can you explain to the audience what it actually was that happened to you, and can you describe what the name of the stroke is?
Yeah, it was come to find out later. When I woke up, my whole left side wouldn't work. I had to essentially hang on to stuff to walk to the sink, to even take a drink of water and figure out what was wrong with me. And like I said, I went to bed. The whole left side was bad. I was having difficulty seeing. And then when I woke up, that was even worse, and I couldn't talk much. You know, it was slurred words. It wasn't incoherent. It was just slurred. And it was a brainstem stroke. You know, whatever that was.
We have a comment on here, and I want you to see if you could actually break that down to. The question is, what is the symptoms? A lot of people ask that question. What are the symptoms of a stroke? You know, it could vary because we are talking a big umbrella of different things. When we talk about stroke, there could be two types of stroke. One is called ischemic, and another one is called hemorrhagic. Ischemic is usually what majority will have with a stroke, that would represent like high blood pressure, or you have blood clots, or you have clogged arteries, and then you have this thing called BFAST. We have this acronym called BFAST. That is the acronym stands for your balance, eyesight. Go ahead.
Yeah, balance, eyesight, face drooping. Arms. You lift up your arms if one of them falls and something's wrong. Speech, and T is for time. Call 911. I think that's a big issue for me, because I did call 911 the next morning, when I realized I was having a stroke. And the first ambulance said, "Do you want to go to the hospital?" And I said, "No, who the hell wants to go to the hospital? Do I have to?" He said, "No, you've already had your stroke." And they left. Honest to God.
But that's what we have to talk about, Ralph. This is very interesting because a lot of people don't understand that part. And fortunately for you, it didn't really affect you that bad. But when you have a stroke, ladies and gentlemen, time is of the essence. You need to really take this serious. And it's very subtle. It's not something that, like how movies and TVs articulate is like some drastic thing. It's very subtle. You don't even think it's something really wrong, but something is wrong.
And you don't have to have all of those be fast things. It's just one or two, and you need to call 911.
Exactly. And I had none of those symptoms whatsoever when I had my stroke. That's the thing that I had. I had a major headache. That's not even one of the Be Fast acronym. It's just I had this massive headache that wouldn't go away. Fortunately, I knew a friend of mine that had a aneurysm rupture that survived it. He told me how it was. And once I knew what was going on with me, I went instantly right back to his thoughts and his words. I'm like, wow, I must be having an aneurysm rupture. And that reason what saved my life. Because normally I would like whoever told you, you already had your stroke. Don't worry about it. Keep on going. I was driving and I would have just kept on driving if I didn't stop.
Wow.
But fortunately I stopped and said, okay, let me check this out. Call 911. And then lo and behold, I had an AVM rupture in my brain.
Wow.
So let me ask you something, Ralph. You said you had in your brain stem. What kind of issues did you have after you had your stroke? Did anything actually happen to you?
Yeah, what I had was the entire left side. I didn't have good balance, and the entire left side was completely numb and non-working. I mean, I had to drag my leg along to get to the sink to take the ibuprofen even. I did have a massive headache as well. And it was all that stress kind of headache right in the back of your head. So I guess that's where the brainstem is. So I think that's where it was. Anyway, so yeah, it was weird symptoms. I got the whole left side that was tingling and numb, wouldn't work. I couldn't lift my left arm. I had to pull it up with my right arm. My eyesight was a little blurry, and I felt like I was slurring my speech when I was talking to myself, what the heck's going on, But, I didn't know about the speech part of it until 7 years later. But, it's a lot of different factors. I mean, headache's one of them. I mean, speech slurring is one of them. Incoherent thoughts is another one. I mean, there's so many things. And if anything reacted, if I would have known a tenth of what I know now, I probably would have been able to get that TPA drug and been a lot better in my recovery than I was.
Ralph, you said something that's very, very interesting to me, and I don't want to brush over it. You said that you had an extreme headache in the back of your head, and because it was in your brainstem. So I want that to be very pronounced in this particular talk right now, because a lot of people don't understand that you could have this happen to you, and it could happen anywhere within your brain. It happened for Ralph in the back of his brain. So if he's telling you about this extreme headache that he had in the back of his head, if you have an extreme headache, I'm not talking about a migraine. I'm not talking about because you're stressed out. I'm talking about something that's very, 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 very bad that could wake you up out of your sleep. If this is happening to you, that is a bad sign. Ralph, I got some comments from our people, so let's bring them up on the screen. Hopefully we can read it. Question that we have here from Kira. Hey Kira, how you doing today? How did you know the headaches wasn't the same? I asked because I've been getting migraines for years, and one time had a headache for a week straight. Doctors told me could be from weather pressure being, we had just went through a hurricane. And they told me could be from pressure in the air. And all that is actually true. So my response to you, and I'm gonna allow you to answer this too, Ralph, is always check. You just never know. What happened with me is that it was so bad that I tried to drink water, nothing alleviated. And it was a headache that I could not describe. It was like a jackhammer in my head. It was the worst thing ever. I knew something terribly wrong was happening. If you and it's not gonna last. It's not gonna last a week either. It's gonna be something really bad, because what's happening is happening in your brain. Blood is actually going to your brain and destroying brain cells. So you have to act fast. Ralph, I'll allow you to elaborate yourself.
Yeah, I think, I've suffered from migraines since I was a freshman in high school. And what was so drastic to me is that it was so intense. It was like somebody had stuck a knife in the back of my head. I could tell it wasn't a migraine because it wasn't into my temples, which my migraines go into my temples. And the other thing is that I associated it differently because of the eyesight. I didn't have that many issues with migraines with my eyesight, but I sure as heck did with this headache. I mean, it was all blurry. So it was completely different. It's the worst pain I've ever had.
And that's the best way we could describe it for you. If you're going to your doctors and your doctor's saying it's not something like that as a stroke, you might want to check a second opinion, but you'll also notice something else is going on within your body. Maybe your arms is getting weak. Maybe your speech is getting bad. Maybe your vision is getting bad. Maybe you start stuttering. Maybe your walk is something else is going to be happening with you, with that happening to you. But Ralph, let me dive into this a little bit more, because I'm very interested to hear what you have to say about this. I know when I had my stroke, I was adamant that by the time I get out the hospital, I was ready to go back to work. I didn't know how bad I was. A lot of people don't understand, even within ourselves, that we had a stroke. Everybody can see how bad we look, but we can't tell that. That's how, it's very important to bring awareness to this, because it's very slight, very subtle. What are your thoughts on that, Ralph?
I agree with you. I think in the beginning it was, first thing I asked the doctor was, when can I go back to work? It's a fight or flight reaction. And I've always been a fighter. I've been at athletics. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I've owned my own businesses, those kind of things. So I was going to fight. And it came to me hard. It was difficult to get that fight part back, because everything was so hard to do or feel or act on because of the stroke and the condition on the left side and all of that I really didn't want to fight. It was just, I'm losing my life here. What's changing? And I couldn't get the answers, from the doctors in the hospital. It was like, there's so much happening right now. How do I fight this? And the way I did it, I got angry. I got angry at the doctors for not answering my questions. I got angry at the doctors for not, and the therapists for not telling me what's going to happen, those kind of things. And I found out later in my recovery, I had to self-advocate in order to get those answers I needed.
Another stroke survivor in our community has a comment saying, I thought once I got out the hospital, I would go back to work too. So, it's something that we all think that's going to happen to us, that we're going to instantly go back to work.
But I couldn't. I was in construction, so the whole left side wouldn't work. I couldn't lift my left arm. I couldn't walk on my own, so I couldn't go back to work. It was serious enough that even though I wanted to fight and go back to work, I couldn't do it. It just wasn't going to happen.
Ralph, you brought up something very interesting, and I don't think that it gets enough recognition for stroke survivors. My biggest qualm is that when you're dealing with a stroke survivor, or with the public, when they deal with a stroke survivor, they look at how good you are. If you can walk, can you talk, can you move your limbs? But they don't really understand that you have a lot of cognitive issues, a lot of internal issues that is hard for you to explain and articulate. You said something, you was like, you lost that fight. Can you explain what that was and how you got that back?
Well, it took a while to get it back. What it was, again, I couldn't work. There was very little I could do without a walker or a wheelchair for the first couple of weeks anyway. But then I was in a walker and I could do very little. It was I don't know. It just felt dark to me. I thought I lost myself. I wasn't physically the same. Cognitively, like you said, I used to know so much about computers. After I got out of the hospital, I could barely turn on my phone. It was like I lost so much skill there that I had to relearn it. And the way I got out of it, and there were some dark moments that I didn't think I was going to get out of it at all. But like I said, the athletics, business ownerships, and especially a spiritual foundation, I knew a better day was coming if I made it happen. You know, the dark moments, I'd look at my grandchildren and children pictures on the wall, and it said, yeah, I've got to do this.
Ralph, you're saying a lot to me, and I love it. You're giving me a whole lot of stuff right there. You basically said that you had your community, your love for your family, your love for your grandchildren, and that made you get back out of that funk, gave you a purpose. Because a lot of people, I hear from when I used to go to physical therapy, I used to hear my physical therapist say, Greg, what is that you got in you? Because a lot of people can walk again, but don't because they're not motivated. And my answer was my children. You know, I want to be strong for my daughters. You know, I want to, like, my goal, Ralph, was to take my daughters to the prom. And both of them just went to the prom, one last year and one this year. And I was able to do that. And that was one of the things, like, I didn't want to stay in bed. I wanted to be able to drive them there, dress up, and parade my daughter there and be a proud dad. So that was my motivation. That was my strength. So I'm hearing the same thing that you're saying for yourself. You had that strength. You have that motivation. And I don't think people really understand that it is very much a mental and a spiritual thing, like you said before, more than physical, because the physical part is going to happen. Either it does or it doesn't. But if you're not up here right, it's not going to work. Am I right with that, Ralph?
Oh, yeah, you're totally right. I mean, you're right in both areas. I mean, the physical part, it's either going to happen or not happen. I don't completely buy that, Greg. No offense intended. But I took 6.5 years to get off the walker and the cane. Now I don't use no walker or cane or ankle foot orthotic. I can actually run on a treadmill. So, I mean, the physical part can be done if you fight. The other thing about for me anyway, is it's interesting you brought it up. I learned years ago when I saw the light in the tunnel from ventricular tachycardia in 2001, life's a gift that can go away just like that. Just like that. I became complacent after that. I enjoyed life, but I became complacent, enjoying the outdoors, my family, one-on-one connections with other people before my stroke. You know, I now realize how important other people are and my surroundings. The other thing that helped me motivate me too was finding other stroke survivors. You know, they could share, you know, I'm in this, oh, woe is me, you know, baloney. Talk to other stroke survivors, find some support groups. And that's what saved my life.
Ralph, everything you say, I'm agreeing with. I don't care if you disagree with me or not. You're older than me, you're wiser than me. So if you disagree with something I say, I'm perfectly fine with that. But Ralph, I did cycle through some comments. I want to go through them and actually see if you want to say anything about them.
Yep,
so
sure.
Let's go back and see the comments that actually came up, so we can talk about them. Okay, here's the first one. This is from Michelle. I get migraines from pressure too, Kira, but my stroke headaches was just different. Hard to explain, but my gut instinct let me know this was different. Trust your gut. I had to keep on going back. Okay. So, Kara, hopefully that answers helped you out. You agree with that?
Yeah, you know your body. If something's different, take a chance and go to a hospital. I mean, call an ambulance, because that's the other thing. If I didn't call an ambulance, I would have been sitting in the waiting room. You know, ambulance, you get in front first.
Yeah, they expedite everything. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Roger. I had to take early retirement because I worked for the railroad and couldn't do the job anymore physically. Okay. I don't think that was a question. That's just a comment of basically agreeing what we were saying.
Well, and I'll say to him too. I was young when I had younger than I am now. I had my stroke almost 9 years ago, so I was in my late 50s. So I wasn't done yet, man. I had a lot to do.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
couldn't work anymore. I didn't start working until 2 years ago.
Here's another one from Rosalind. You have to have a partner to get through this. Reach out and find someone to walk through recovery with. Okay.
Thank you, Ross.
I kind of agree with that. I kind of agree with that because it could be hard. Because what if you are single and you have nobody to help you out? What you gonna have to do? You have to figure it out.
I was single for 6 years.
Right.
But I was, like I said, I did some research. I asked a lot of questions. I found I don't want to say senior center because that gives a whole nother connotation. A senior medical center that I was able to go to a couple times a week. I got some mental health counseling. I didn't have a partner, so I could go to mental health counseling. I talked to other stroke survivors. I got involved with support group, physical therapy, all in the same location. So there's what I didn't know then that I know now is there's so many resources out there if you look for them. Whether you're single or not, I agree. I'm jealous I didn't have a caregiver, and I know Roz's caregiver, and he's incredible. That couple is amazing. So yes, there's single and caregivers, but caregivers have to recognize too, they're going through a bunch of crap too that they need to address.
Oh, no, man, you just started another show, man. We can't do that, man. We got to stay on topic, sir. I have another comment from Kira. She's asking, can strokes be hereditary? My grandmom from an aneurysm had an aneurysm. She always had headaches. My biggest fear for myself. That is a excellent question, and none of us are medical professionals, but if you do have someone in your family that did have an aneurysm, you can go to your doctor and say, hey, it's in my family. Can you test to see if I had one? And they will schedule an MRA for you to check your arteries to find out if you have aneurysms. So I would suggest that you do that. Absolutely.
Well, and there's also all the prevention list. I mean, diabetes, high blood pressure, smoking, drug use, family history. There's 7 different things in a medical area that you need to look up, and you can look it up almost anywhere for preventing strokes. I mean, diet, nutrition's a whole nother one. I mean, I'm transitioning into the Mediterranean diet so that I don't have another stroke. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things out there that people have to self-advocate and find. I mean, family history is a huge one. My father had heart issues, and I believe he had a stroke, but back then we didn't know. So there's a lot to do with family history, I think, as well.
Here's another comment from Ralph. He says, I wanted to dance again and drive the Twisted Pony. If you know Roger, I'm sorry, did I call Ralph? I said Ralph? I said Roger. Roger made this comment, Ralph. Twisted Pony is his actual Mustang. I think it's a 67 Mustang. And he always wanted to drive it again. And I think he finally got back behind the wheel after his stroke. So I get that. So he has more praises for you. He says, right on, Ralph.
Well, that's great.
Go ahead.
Thank you. It's funny you mentioned that, because one of the things I learned later on was I started to do the things I always did before that they told me I couldn't do. So in other words, I was a carpenter. I did construction work. I started doing landscaping again. I started doing those kind of things again. And they came back to me. I talked to my physical therapist. She says, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be able to throw a football again. I want to be able to climb a ladder. Guess what? She brought a football and a physical therapy and a ladder. So we started learning how to do it. Set some goals for yourself. I mean, that's what it took me 3 years to find that out. New stroke survivors. Oh God, we'll talk about Stroke Warrior Radio and why we did that. But there's all kinds of things that it's up to us, or it was up to me, how my recovery became.
Okay. I'm with you all this. Roger seemed like he wants to be your new friend. He said maybe we should be friends. I guess you got a new follower. Hey, Roger, follow StrokeWarriorRadio.com and you'll be his friend. Trust me.
You can contact me through the website.
And we will show that a little bit later on through the show.
Yeah.
So please stay with us, Roger. And Trezana has something to say. She says, some of us had no partner or traditional caregiver. My support came in various and traditional ways. Yeah, I get it. I get it. That's what I was talking about too.
That's what I had to do.
Here's another one from Trezana. Daily living stress can manifest in chronic health conditions such as a stroke. Okay.
Yes.
Kira says, thank you for the information.
Of course.
And I believe, and another one from Kira as well. Are we coming in hot tonight? I know this may be a dumb question. No such thing, Kara. Hey, Kara, I know you're still elementary school. There's no such thing as a dumb question. You can't do that, girl. Don't do that. Don't start that right now. Do not start that.
Yeah.
So, here's the question. I know this may be a dumb question, and I know everyone is different, but the recovery process, is it usually a quick process? Don't laugh at me. Well, I'm not laughing at you, but I want to put this in perspective.
Yeah.
When you have a stroke, you have brain cells that's actually being destroyed. It's a lack of oxygen going to brain cells. So what's actually happened is that those brain cells will never regenerate. You might have things by neuroplasticity when it actually rewires itself, but it's not going to be the same way. The best analogy I have, and I'm going to let Ralph explain it for himself as well. The best analogy I have for you is, if you look at your body, if you have any scars on your body, on your skin, it healed, but it didn't come back the same exact way. That's the same thing that happens when you have a stroke. Your brain never heals 100% the same exact way it was when you was actually without the stroke. So this is a lifelong thing for us. So Ralph said he had a stroke 9 years ago. I can imagine Ralph still has some deficits from that. He's recovered, but he's still going through his life of recovery because he still wants to do things. He's still motivated to do more things. Ralph, can you explain yourself on this question that we have here?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I had to learn over the years. In other words, first, like my cognitive skills, I had to write down every damn password I ever had, because I couldn't remember them. I changed everything. Every time I went in, I couldn't remember them. I had to write them down. Now I'm starting to remember passwords again. It's taken 9 years, but I remember about half of them. And we all know how many passwords we've got. Then there's, what was the second part of the question again? See, my stroke brain. There it goes. Oh, yeah, the cognitive
skills and all that. Go ahead with it.
Yeah, the cognitive skills. I still suffer from cognitive deficits. I mean, my organization is off. I used to be so good at daytimers and all that kind of scheduling stuff. And, it's off. I mess up appointments. I mess up doing stuff when I'm supposed to do it. But, it's gotten better and better. It's just a thing that I had to learn to have patience with myself that, hey, I'm not perfect, but it's as perfect as it's going to be today. So Kira, that's how I think.
So Kira, it's not a dumb question. It's just a question that we can't really articulate because this is a lifelong thing. Once you become a stroke survivor, you're not an unstroke survivor. It's a lifelong thing. Some people don't recover physically, but it's more than physical. It's physical. And Ralph was talking about before, he had to find his fight again. So it's mental. You have cognitive skills you got to deal with. It's all different types of things that you have to overcome to come back into what the society calls normal.
Yeah.
I got some more comments in here.
I could tell you after 9 years, I still go to physical therapy. It's a lifelong thing, but it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. but it's also been the most rewarding because I've learned so much about myself. And just have to live day by day sometimes. You know, go ahead.
Rosalind has another comment. She said, don't let your therapist let you plateau. Find a new therapist and keep climbing. Thank you, Rosalind. I really feel you on that.
Oh, I agree with that completely. You're allowed to fire your medical professionals. That they work for you. You know, and I went through 4 of them, 4 physical therapists. You know, I'd fire him and get another one. I don't care.
That's the thing that we forget that we are in control. We're actually paying them to actually help us. If we're not comfortable with them, hey, like I was in the hospital, I told the nurse, I was like, I don't like this nurse. Take her out of my room.
Yeah,
and they never brought her back.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, people don't realize that. You know, you can call the insurance company and get a caseworker. You know, there's
I didn't know that.
I never knew.
I didn't know.
Huh? Yeah.
I mean,
the insurance company will give you a caseworker, which is more or less a utilization nurse. And they're going to advocate for you or explain in regular terms why that the insurance isn't covering it or whatever, and what you can do to make it better in most cases. I can't say it's a great system, but it's available. I didn't learn that till 5 years later.
But the problem that I had, Ralph, is that when I had my stroke, I was on Medicaid and I was out of state. Oof. And it was bad. It was bad. But that's another story, another time. Trizana said, untraditional ways, I mean, okay. She was going back to her older comment. No problem, sister. And back to Roger again. I met an incredible woman who accepted me as I am.
Oh my gosh!
Whoa! Roger, changing the whole entire show right now. Come on, man! I hear you got a nice, beautiful woman. I love it for you, brother. I really love it.
God bless you, man.
We talked about that earlier too, me and him. But go ahead, Ralph.
God bless you, man. I mean, it's been difficult, and you know, a funny thing. I don't know if it's funny, but for me, I still have a fear of dating and stuff because, you know, I have these deficits that bother me. I mean, people look at me and say, you don't look like you've had a stroke, which is almost an insult anymore. But, you know, I do have the cognitive issues inside. You don't see the interior things, you know, and I had this fear. Am I going to be able to handle a relationship? What's that going to be like? Again, that's a whole nother show. And you've done a couple of these shows. So, I mean, it's a lifelong thing that you have to deal with.
Right.
And God bless you, Roger. I wish you the best.
We have another person here, Kelly Burns. Says, hi, you guys. I had a stroke 4 years ago. I didn't have anybody but my kids to take care of me. I hear you. I feel for you. I definitely hear you. I feel
for you. But the thing, I don't want to give advice, but find somebody. Give advice. Find somebody that you can work with. I mean, find a social worker through your insurance company. Find your physical therapist is going to know a counselor that may be able to help you or refer you to other things. A caseworker with the insurance company may refer you to other things. There's help out there, but people don't take the time to find it or are afraid that they're not going to be able to get it or think, excuse me, or think they don't qualify for it. There's loads out there. Excuse me, let me fix my blinds.
Go ahead. And Ralph, I really want to think about what you're saying right now. And I agree with you somewhat. I somewhat agree with you, Ralph, because there are sometimes we can't articulate what we want. And we don't know how to find that. It's frustrating because I remember with me, I was in such a brain fog that I didn't understand day or night or left or right. So for me to try to find things, and especially if I was by myself, I was at the mercy of anybody around me. A lot of things happened to me that today wouldn't happen. Like you saying, if you knew 5 years earlier, it would have helped you out tremendously. So in that time span, I'm hearing, what Rosalind is talking about, have someone to be an advocate for you. Yet, if you have someone established already, and I always talk about this, Ralph, and I'm sorry to deviate off, but
no,
your life, you need to right now, before you have a medical emergency, set up your will, set up your directives, set up, have great relationships with people, because there could be a time that you cannot defend yourself, cannot speak for yourself. So you will need somebody to actually protect you and to talk for you. So if you're in a relationship and it's wishy-washy or is on the rocks, it's not going to get any better once a stroke comes into play. Because once a stroke comes into play, then that person might not even like you anymore, and they're dealing with you, and they have to take care of you. That's a hard thing to deal with. I got Woods Reeds. He's saying prayers for us. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, Wood.
Also, we have Michelle Humphrey again. She says, Carrie, there are no dumb questions. There is no dumb questions, but each recovery is very different. It is apples and oranges. I guess that's the best analogy I can say myself. You agree?
That's for sure.
Kelly Burns saying same here. I'm not sure which part she said. We was talking so much we forgot to actually get to that comment. But apologies, Kelly. Kira, come back again. Is it possible to have more than one stroke? What is it that you do now different than what you have been doing before? Okay. Let's tackle this real quick.
Yeah.
Before I was telling you, everybody on the show, there is basically two major types of strokes, and they go down different paths. You have the ischemic stroke that most people know about, and that is like blood pressure being high, stress, blood clots, cholesterol levels, and then you have hemorrhagic strokes when you have aneurysms, AVM pressure, bleeding on the brain. Those are two different veins of stroke, but they come up with the same type of result because they are depriving oxygen to the brain. So let's get that straight. Can you have more than one type of stroke? Absolutely.
Oh man, I lost you there.
Was I talking all this time and you?
I didn't hear most all of that.
But can you answer her for me? Because I might have went on mute. Can you answer her for me, Ralph?
What was the question again? About
the question is it possible to have more than one stroke?
Oh yeah, and I can tell you, a very good friend of mine had a TIA. She was driving and on a phone with the speakerphone, of course, and all of a sudden she couldn't talk anymore. And she pulled over. About 10 minutes later, she was fine. A month later, she had a massive stroke, a massive hemorrhagic stroke that destroyed her left side, and she's still fighting at this point in time. I mean, there's other people that have had 2 and 3 TIAs that are, they're small strokes that go away and have a massive stroke later on. Those are warning signs. Those are strokes. I mean, it may be a short one, but it's a warning sign for the next one. And I think the statistics are there's a very high percentage of people that have a second stroke within the first year. So, yeah, you can have more than one stroke. And if you don't follow medications, exercise, all those kind of things, I guess that makes it worse. And like I said, I'm not a doctor either, but, I learned to change my diet, to change my meds, to change some of the things I did to make things better.
All right, we got a couple more questions, then I want to get to the second half of our show. Roger is saying anxiety and depression were huge obstacles for me, but through work, it gets better. Okay.
Yes, I agree.
Here's another one from Roger. I did too, Ralph, but life is too short to spend it alone. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's our last one we're going to get with. We got this one from Michelle. She's talking to Kelly. Kelly, most cities have a city health nurse who might have good ideas to help you.
Well,
Okay.
and your occupational therapist is also trained in many areas other than just handwriting or those kind of things. I just found out in the last 6 months that they have mental health counseling training within occupational therapists. And my occupational therapist is helping me right now with my organizational skills and daily skills that are cognitive, not necessarily physical.
So, Ralph, I just put something on our screen talking about Stroke Warrior Radio. I've been hearing about this, and me and you have been collaborating this a lot, but we haven't really explained this to the masses. What is Stroke Warrior Radio, and why is this such an important thing for you?
It starts for me with I didn't know what I didn't know. I learned so much from other stroke survivors that if I would have known it within my first month, 6 months, year, my recovery would have been so much quicker or so much better, or maybe not. But I learned a whole lot from other people. I've always been one that if I learned something, I realized how important other people are and my surroundings are, especially that I must share my experiences and my renewed hope with others. So for me, that actually helps fuel those experiences and hope for myself. So, I mean, working with other people has always been a huge thing. I've been a huge volunteer all my life, Junior Chamber of Commerce, church, all kinds of different things. So giving away is a great way to keep something that you've learned. If you learn something and give it to other people, they're going to, it's going to make you better and it's going to make them better. So we started Stroke Warrior Radio because, number one, there was no internet cloud-based radio station that was broadcasting in the world 24/7 for stroke education, motivation, or support. It's a nice thing because it's internet cloud-based. I can pre-record a lot. But Stroke Warrior Radio is founded to educate, motivate, and support stroke survivors, their families, caregivers, whomever, through interviews with therapists, interviews with mental health people, interviews with prevention people, interviews with other stroke survivors. One of the shows that we broadcast on a daily basis, different hours a day, is AVM Superhero. We've shared his podcast. There's two other people that share their podcast on the radio. My goal, or our goal in the beginning, was we want to be the search engine for stroke survivors. There's going to be a show on there that's going to help you. It's going to be other survivors. It's going to be support groups that we broadcast every day at 3:00. Rebroadcast of their support groups. There's all kinds of different things that are available on the show. Plus, on the last page of our website, you can also make requests or listen to the new any show you want. We're developing an app that you're going to be able to re-listen to all the shows. We're starting to share all the recordings on YouTube as well. You can look up almost anything. And I mean, one of our shows, we go through dealing with insurance, navigating the bureaucracy. There's all kinds of different things that we go through that nobody told us. Nobody said, hey, it's going to be hard. Yeah, you'll be fine in 6 months. Yeah, you'll be fine in 3 months. Or the dreaded phrase is, this is as good as it's going to get. You've reached your plateau. I want to slap those people because it took me 6.5 years, but who would have thought I got off my cane? So I want to tell other people they're out there. There is hope. You can fight this. It's up to you. And I want to give them the tools to do it.
Ralph, I love you for that, my brother. I really love you for that. And I really appreciate you taking the time to say, hey, Greg, I like what you're doing, and I want you to be part of Stroke Warriors Radio. So I really appreciate you bringing on my show onto your platform. I really appreciate it. So can you tell us a little bit more how we could find it? I know I brought up the webpage and everything. How can we find it, and what countries is it available in?
It is currently, we're listened to in 19 countries, and it's I just added Pakistan and India, actually.
I'm sorry, Ralph. Can you do that again? Because I cut you off. Do that again, sir.
It's actually the easiest way to get to it is go to the website and hit that tune in button right on the first page. I will have an app for you soon, or you can write strokewarriorradio@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link. So it's pretty easy to get to. You can listen to it on a phone, desktop, laptop, whatever. And it's listened to all over the world for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with music interludes all day long. We have a different genre each day till I decide which one I like most. I'm still the 50s, 60s, and 70s, so I'm still trying to decide what my listeners like. But yeah, it's basically a radio station, but it's internet cloud based.
So you're being a little bit coy with me, and I understand why, but I always tell people this, after you have your stroke, find something that's going to get you up each and every day that you like. You might not be able to do the things that you did before, but find something, a gift that you have, and give it back. And once you start giving that back, you're going to find your purpose again. You're going to feel like you're adequate again. Is that the same thing that happened with you, Ralph?
Yeah, it's not. Well, I wrote it in the newsletter our inaugural newsletter. I lost a lot of learning. It's taken me a year to relearn all the things I needed to do. Part of the reason I did it was for the challenge to me to relearn my skills. The main part of it is to share what I've learned with other people. And it does give me, I'm trying to say if it's I work a regular job plus, which is actually 2 jobs. I run a storage facility and a U-Haul dealership. So, this is the third thing for me. So, and I volunteer with Stroke Awareness Oregon, and I'm on the board of directors. So it's all passions. I found my passion. So I guess you're right. It's a passion for me. And for me, what it really boils down to, gets back into that fear, is I have a legacy now that I didn't have before. So it's just something that means so much to me that people don't have to go through what I did. Excuse me.
No, you're good, brother. But you kind of messed me up, because I was going to say something like, you say that I'm right, and then you got all emotional, man. You messed me all up with my... But I hear you, brother. I hear you. And that's the same thing that I did too. I wanted to leave something for my daughter. That's why I do Deaf Taught Us How to Live. That's why I do my caregiver baskets. I want my daughter to say, you know what? My dad went through this, and he was still able to do things for other people. He still had love for people. He didn't stay there in his bed and being mumpy all day long and just died off. He was a part of society. And that's what you're basically saying right here. So I appreciate what you're saying there, Ralph.
I went back to Arizona and visited my 3 daughters in September, and 2 of them said to me, "Dad, you're a better man than you were before the stroke. I'm proud of you."
Isn't that the best?
It's the best.
Isn't that the best, man? My daughter told me the other day, "Daddy, I love you. I thank for everything that you have done for me and you continue to do for me." After I heard that, I was like, yo, life is great.
Yeah. Amen.
My daughter's approved. Life is great.
Yep.
I love it. I love it. I got a couple more comments, and then I want to close out the show, but I have my my questions I want to ask you. So here's a couple of more questions from Kira, and also we have Jalissa here as well. So let me get these comments out here. So after a stroke, are you on a lot of medication, or does changing your lifestyle, such as diet and loss of weight contribute to a healthier self? These are questions that you ask in that it's really on an individual basis. Like I said, there is some people, my health was not bad. The reason why I had my stroke, I was born with a condition that I never knew about, and it just ruptured. Only 1% of the world population has it. It wasn't because of my diet, because of stress. It wasn't none of that. So I can't answer these questions for a particular, stroke situation. Everyone is different. And I think you agree with me on that too,
Well,
right?
I can share my story, and my story was I was in great shape. I did 3 porches and 2 roofs that week and at work. I lost my train of thought. Sorry, guys. This happens still. But it continues to happen. I'm losing it. Sorry,
Hey,
guys.
don't worry about it, man. We got a little bit left, more time, so
yeah,
I understand what you're saying, and hopefully, Carrie understands too.
Yeah.
Here's the last one that we have here. Here's Jalissa. She says, "Thank you so much for what you're all doing. I am a caregiver, and Greg knows me. Yeah, I know you. I remember you. How's Dallas doing? Tell him I say hello. My husband had an AVM rupture on his brainstem and a stroke 3.5 years ago, and he's still recovering and has a long way to go. I just want to thank y'all, and God bless both of you. Thank you, my sister.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
That means a lot.
Ralph, we at the end of our show, and before I close, I always have these questions I ask my guests. I put them on hot seats. So I want to ask you these questions, and you have 30 seconds to answer each one. And then after I do that, Ralph, I want you to close out the show. I want you to tell me anything that you want to tell our audience, anywhere they can find you, anything that you want to do. The show will be yours. So are you ready for your question, sir?
I am.
All right. Here is the first question. How did you get out of the darkness?
Well, I go back to my background and having a big family. I have 11 grandchildren plus step-grandchildren. I did athletics, business ownership, and the spiritual foundation. I pray to God every day, and I try and do the right thing in everything I do. I found better days were coming, and they did come. The dark moments, I'd look at the wall and see my grandchildren and my children on their pictures on the wall, and I knew that better day was here.
Cool. Question number 2. What was the hardest part of your stroke recovery?
I think they go hand in hand. Fighting the depression over the loss of myself. Right after my stroke, I sold all my construction tools. I lost my identity with selling my business. That caused the lack of hope, which also caused physical fatigue. But then again, physical fatigue caused the depression.
Okay. Question number 3. What advice would you give someone who survived a stroke in their first year of rehab?
This is my favorite. Questions, questions, questions. I had to learn to advocate for myself. Research helped me through, and the giant part was finding other stroke survivors, support groups, and counseling. The mental health aspect is a neglected part of it, and that was something very important to me that I didn't get till a little bit later on. For me, it was the hardest thing in my life to do, but it became the most rewarding part of my life.
Okay. Question number 4. If you had died, who would have been the most affected, and how has your relationship changed with this person now? Only one person, the most.
My oldest grandson had my relationships improved with all of my children and grandchildren more than I ever expected. My daughters, like I said recently, told me I'm better than I am, but I think it probably would have affected all of them more now than it would have before my stroke.
Question number 5. What is something that you want people to know that is not easy for new stroke survivors to explain?
Well, for me, if it's the outward struggles are obvious. It's the inward struggle that does not show. It's even at
Can't hear
8.5 years post stroke, I still deal with difficulties with my memory, understanding, and sometimes even my drive to do things. So it's a constant struggle that needs to be addressed by each person's own ability.
Ralph,
You.
I
Yeah.
can't hear you.
Oh no. What's going on? Can you hear me now? Oh my gosh, what's going on? I don't know what's happening. My audio's on. I lost you, man. Nothing.
Not me.
Nope. Not working. App using a microphone. Everything's looks good on my end. Ah,
I guess
there it is. You're back. Am I back? Nope, I lost you again. Ah. Sorry. I don't believe it. Can you better? I hope so. Nope.
good. I think it's me.
Yeah, there you go. I got you back. Then I lost you again. What were we saying about computer skills? I don't see anything here to fix. I don't know, man. Nope. I think we've been shot down. Nothing. Live shows. I gotta love it.
It's definitely me. It's definitely me.
Oh, there you go. I can hear you now. Can you hear me? Guess not. Damn, dude. I don't know what to tell you, man.